Let's watch a preview of the CBS Schoolbreak special, 15 and Getting Straight.
We knew Susan had problems, but drug addiction, that's way out in left field. I mean, there are no addicts in our family.
Daddy, are you crazy? What do you call her?
Susan, you're being rude. Your mother has a glandular problem.
Mom has a problem, which is she eats too much. My problem is throwing up and using drugs not to look like her.
Susan, there's a difference between being malicious and being honest. Jeff is new here, and you really gave him a hard time. Why'd you do that?
He deserves it. I hate him. He's such a jerk.
You're in such a rage. Are you sure this isn't about your mom?
I think he's just mad because your pimp hasn't called here once.
He's not my pimp. He's my boyfriend.
A 30-year-old boyfriend? For a 15-year-old girl, he lends out to his friends in exchange for coke. Where I come from, that's called a pimp, babe.
What are you feeling now, Susan?
I'm tired of this routine. I just want to go home.
Did you want to go home when you were living with that man, Joe? Then why didn't you just go?
I couldn't. My mom said if I moved out, then I couldn't come back.
They say things like that. They don't mean it. It's like this contest of the wills they get into with you. I was out on the streets, starving and freezing, while my mom was home crying, waiting for me to come home. But I go, hey, she kicked me out. I'll show her, man. I'll stay out. It took me about 3 weeks in there before I started thanking God this is where I was. We all love you, Susan. Give it time.
Start believing in yourself, Susan. You're a beautiful girl.
I'm glad you're here. I love you. Hey, listen to him. Be cool.
Why, Louise, I do believe you're bonding with this community.
Do what?
I think this one belongs to you, Kim. You want him to do some quiet time, or you want him back in the group?
Why don't we leave it up to Jeff?
Well, I don't have much choice, being that my mom made me stay here. Doors were locked, and my little walkout's already cost me a level.
Thanks, Gary. Tell Dr. DeVito everything's cool.
No problem.
You know, Jeff, there's only one bad guy around here. He's our devil. We wrestle with him all the time. It's called denial. We've all heard his rap. I'm not sick. I'm not in trouble. I'm not using too much. I'm in control. Rick, I'd like you to tell Jeff the first step of the 12-step program.
We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable.
So, Jeff, I'd like you to take a look back at how you were feeling a week ago and tell me, when you were trying to commit suicide on the highway, what were you thinking?
I never said that.
That's right. When you were dodging 2-ton trucks on your skateboard, do you feel your life had become unmanageable? If you want things to get better, Jeff, right here, right now is the time to start.
You don't know Eddie.
We'll return after these messages. And now, back to the CBS Schoolbreak special.
Jeff, you have something you'd like to share with your mom? Bonnie? Want to say anything to Jeff?
Well, I just hope you aren't mad at me for putting you in here. You were doing such dangerous stuff, and I was worried about you.
Would you like to tell your mom what you were doing on that highway?
I was trying to.
Sorry, Jeff. I can't hear you.
I was sort of trying to get hit.
You were that unhappy? You never said anything.
I know.
I raised Jeffy all by myself. His daddy left when he was 3. Jeffy and me, well, we were like brother and sister. When he was little, we used to go to the park and the beach. We'd even go roller skating together. See, I was real young, and every time I had a new boyfriend, I thought that he was going to be a new daddy for Jeffy. And when it didn't work out, well, then there would be another one. And pretty soon there had been too many men in and out of our house. And I think Jeffy was disappointed too many times.
Have you ever used drugs?
Well, I mean, I smoked grass, but everybody did. I didn't think that was harmful or anything to be ashamed of. Was it?
Ashamed of? No. Harmful. Depends on when we're talking about. You see, it's taken about 20 years of research to get the truth about marijuana. Now that we've got it, we find that we're dealing with a drug that's 10 to 15 times stronger than what we started out with.
You're kidding. I didn't know that.
No, nobody does. Grass is the best kept secret on the street. So, what does this friendly, harmless, hip little drug give us today? Well, it gives us severe anxiety attacks. A single joint can affect your reaction time while you're driving for up to 6 hours. Habitual use impairs brain cell function, does serious damage to short-term memory. 5 marijuana cigarettes equals 20 tobacco cigarettes. Destroys initiative. It makes you act stupid. It makes you feel lethargic. In short, if you really want to be less than you can be, then smoke grass.
And there's one other thing. Once I started using grass, I couldn't stop there. It took me all of 2 months to graduate from grass to alcohol to uppers and downers and finally cocaine. By the time my mom brought me in here, I didn't even know my own name.
Bonnie, you were talking about your relationship with Jeff.
Well, I guess that I did about everything wrong in the book. He was having trouble in school.
What kind of trouble?
Doing his assignments, reading. I wanted to help him, but I wasn't too good in school myself.
Mrs. Hoyt, was your son tested for dyslexia?
Yeah, that's what he was, but I didn't know what to do.
But surely the schools told you that there were doctors and educational specialists equipped to handle this.
Yeah. Yeah, but their office hours were 9 to 5, which is when I worked trying to solve my problem, which is putting food on the table and paying the rent. It's hard to raise a kid by yourself. Maybe I didn't do the best job in the world with Jeffy. But it sure wasn't because I didn't care.
Bonnie, would you say that to Jeff?
I love you, honey.
We'll return after these messages. And now, back to the CBS Schoolbreak special.
Okay, I'd like to do some work with the Lapidus family. Could you guys move into the center, please? Sarah, I think you have something to share with us.
I'm still not quite sure why Susan's here. She has a medical problem. She was admitted for bulimia. She was supposed to be released last week. Then your hospital calls and says that she's been transferred to a chemical dependency unit. I'm not aware that Susan has any trouble with chemical dependency.
Susan, you want to respond to that? Please do.
I don't have anything to say to her.
Marshall? Thank you.
I don't know what to say. I mean, Susan ran away from home. We had a devil of a time getting her back. This bulimic thing almost killed her. We knew Susan had problems, but drug addiction, that's way out in left field. I mean, there are no addicts in our family.
Daddy, are you crazy? What do you call her?
Susan, you're being rude. Your mother has a glandular problem.
Mom has a problem, which is she eats too much. My problem is throwing up and using drugs not to look like her.
Susan, that's enough.
Daddy, we learned a thing here. It's called denial. That's all that happens in our family. Daddy, I was drinking and smoking and snorting coke when I was 12 years old. I left the stuff all over my room. Why didn't you see it? Why didn't you say anything? I ran away with a guy your age, Daddy. Why didn't you guys come and get me? Why didn't you ever show that you cared about anything that happened to me?
We did care. We consulted our family physician.
Sarah, talk to Susan, please.
He said you were going through a difficult stage and that you'd have to get over it yourself. It would seem that, like Mrs. Hoyt, we didn't do the right thing because we didn't know the right thing to do. But you can see for yourself how hateful and hostile and insulting Susan can be, and I don't think I need to put up with that.
No, you don't. But I would hope that you'd want to do a lot of work with Susan to try to improve the communication between the two of you.
I'm not the one with the problem.
Sarah, we have a saying here that if you're not part of the solution, part of the problem. Okay, Gloria, Rick's going home next week. How do you feel about that?
Well, I'm pleased, of course. There's so much to do before his father returns from Europe. Richard has to take his SATs and finish his college applications. Of course, his latest escapade has cost him Yale and Princeton, but there are schools who will still take him. So, what's done is done. Anyway, we're looking forward to the future.
Okay, time for a coffee break, huh? Kids, you can go back to school, and parents, can I see you back here in about 15 minutes?
We'll return after these messages. And now, back to the CBS Schoolbreak special.
It's very painful, you know, to look at your child and realize that he will never be what you thought he would when you were raising him. Richard was the most beautiful little boy imaginable, and a face like a Botticelli angel. And he was sweet and good-natured, easy. Of course, he was shy and dreamy. But he didn't really seem unhappy until about the 4th grade, when I found out the kids were teasing him about being fat, which he wasn't really. But I started paying attention to his diet. But I still didn't see any reason for him to be unhappy. I mean, he was invited to all the best birthday parties. He had friends. And then one day, I came home from work early, and I found him sitting in the den, talking to himself, as he often did, with his jump rope tied around his neck like a noose. And he was holding up one end. I found that very frightening. So I sent him to the best child therapists in the city. And he seemed better after that. all the rest, the drug business, didn't surface until high school.
Yeah, Rick lives deep in his head. It's sometimes very difficult to know what he's really thinking.
He surprised us, all right.
He disappoint you?
He has been arrested for cocaine possession. He can never practice law, and he can never run for public office.
Listen, maybe your expectations are just... they're too high for Rick to handle.
Why? Other people have high expectations for their kids, and their kids fulfill them. Why not Rick?
Gloria. Look, Rick is only 17. His future is wide open.
I hope so.
I know all about high expectations. And like Mrs. Matthews here, I can't understand what happened either. Now, I don't mean to be insulting, but it seems to me that there is something dysfunctional in all the families here except ours. Burnett and her sister were raised in a two-parent home with solid, old-fashioned values. Church every Sunday. Parents involved with them and their schools. And yet here we sit, our oldest daughter dead, our baby an alcoholic. I wish someone would tell me why.
Harold teaches math. And in his world, every equation has a solution. Only there's some things he still refuses to see. Like, my father was an alcoholic, and so was my brother. Alcoholism runs in families, right?
Well, the tendency does, yeah, but it doesn't have to be a sentence.
Harold, God didn't take our beautiful daughter. Drugs did. I know. I closed my eyes to it as much as you did. But we were good parents. We did everything right. Things, and this country has changed since we were kids. There's a terrible sickness out there, one that's taking our decency, our pride, our character, our reasoning. Drug abuse is a contagious disease that poisons everything that it touches. Now, we have got one daughter left, and we will fight for her soul. We will not lose Burnett.
Is that what it is? Is it about fighting for your kid? I've been trying to figure it out. Why things happened to Patty and me like they did. I'm not a bad person. I'm not stupid neither, but terrible things happened to my daughter in my house. Did I just turn the other way when things got ugly because I didn't know how to handle it? Is it because I wasn't never raised to fight? Do you have to say to yourself, well, you better learn because there's a war out there?
You got it.
If you are interested in watching more of our videos, then click on one of the links above.